So you've got a copy of my Marionette building instructions and template, and now you're wondering how to use it. Well, this is the video for you. The first thing you'll need is some tracing paper or architectural vellum so that you can trace your character off of the template directly onto what will become your character sheet. This makes the poster infinitely reusable. With all the information here, it can be a little bit daunting, but I'm going to make it easy for you. For now, let's clear away all the extraneous information. We'll just focus on the two figures on the page and ignore everything else. These two templates represent something of a range for the 1/4 scale marionettes I tend to build, from a tall male to a relatively small woman. I'm going to start with the female template for the purposes of this demonstration. I've had this idea for some time now of a young woman whose head is sort of like an egg that has hatched, and what is now living inside her head is this tiny dragon. So the first thing that you can see is that I don't follow the template perfectly closely. It really depends on what my character is. And here, I want to draw a girl with a slightly larger than normal head so that I can fit that dragon inside. I'm also going to shorten her torso a little bit and lengthen her legs. This is going to make her arms appear extra long as well. This will give her a lanky, slightly otherworldly appearance. I spend a lot of time refining the shape, erasing, redrawing, and moving my tracing paper around on the template so I can trace the parts of it that I need. I don't rush this part of the process because so much of what the audience understands about this character will be defined during this part of the process. I think about what this character communicates with their posture, how they move, whether they fidget or shake or are still. Once I'm satisfied with the form, I need to then transfer that form to the front view so that all the pieces are the same size from the front and side view. That requires that I draw these drafting lines that help me make sure each of the parts are in alignment. It's just a little bit easier for me to show you how I work if I do it in this digital paint program. And so what I've done is I've kind of created a bunch of different layers, which you can think of as different layers of tracing paper or vellum. And I'm color coding things. So I'm making my construction lines in red, and then I've got the dragon sort of traced out in blue, and then of course the figure is all in black. I'm kind of slowing down the drawing process here so that it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. I'm working on the two different parts of the main body, which is the upper torso piece, and then there's the pelvis piece. And they're kind of connected together by a lycra sock that gets filled with some stuffing. You also see there's a little bead there's a cord that runs all the way from the top of the head down to the back of the tailbone, which you can think of as the puppet's spine. This allows these hard parts that are sculpted out of wood to kind of bend in the middle in a way that's naturalistic. As I shorten the midsection of this character, then I also need to move where that bead is, and of course, the pelvis is up a lot higher. This means that I need to do some more alignment, so I'm going to add another construction line. It's very important that my front and side views of all of my parts line up, and so I'm going to add a lot of construction lines to make sure that each of those parts is correct from the front and side view. Here I'll start drawing my modified smaller pelvis, but of course there is one thing that I don't get quite right here that I'll have to come back and fix later, and that's that the side edges of my pelvis don't line up with the side view of the drawing. So I'll show you how that gets fixed right here. I redraw the sides of the cone so that it lines up better with the side view drawing right here. Double checking and correcting these drawing mistakes will help me at later stages in the process. As you make more patterns, you'll start to understand why the front and side view needs to match up in this way. Moving on to the arms, I'm making them a little bit slimmer. Of course, everything on this character is a little bit more slender. And speaking of slender, there's kind of a Slender Man-esque proportions to this character. You can see that I'm sort of trying to make sure that the hands line up with the side view of the hands. I want the fingers to be kind of long and bony a little bit, or like pianist's fingers. Working on just trying to give the character little touches, little details that kind of signify to the audience what they're going to be like. One of the other things that I do is I thought about this character being a little bit bow-legged. There's just something kind of interesting about the posture, and so here I just sort of copied the arm and leg that I've already drawn over to the other side and give myself a chance to kind of finish up that dragon. And then, you know, give her some Tim Burton striped stockings, or maybe Pippi Longstocking. And from there, it's time to do a little bit of costume design with another layer. And I'll just throw on a little bit of details, and I'm kind of thinking of a character with a Victorian dress. Of course, most of my characters are either in the Victorian era or the Great Depression. Something about those two time periods kind of speaks to me. So that's where my design sense kind of automatically goes. One of the things I really wanted to do was give this dress pockets. Pockets aren't something you see in ball gowns very often, but a lot of these sort of working class dresses from the Victorian era would have pockets in them, and I always kind of thought that that was a neat touch. So added those, and then of course a little bit of ribbon or something going across the front just sort of cements it in that time period of the, you know, late 1800s, somewhere around 1885 or so. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope this has been helpful for how to use the poster, and given you ideas about how you can create your own characters using the templates. Thanks very much for watching. Till next time, keep on crafting.